Hey friends, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again for another week of Coast Kids Preschool at home.
Oh yeah, thanks guys. We love hanging out with you every Sunday morning. If you don't know me, my name's Gloria.
And my name is Phoebe.
Alrighty. Phoebe, what fun things have we got planned for this morning?
Well, today we're actually going to hear stories about 3 different people. Their names are Deborah, Gideon and Samson. The stories show us how each of the characters listened to God and obeyed what He wanted them to do.
Oh, that sounds fun. And we're also going to find out what happened when they obeyed God. I wonder if it will be good things or bad things. Oh, I can't wait to find out.
Well, how about we get into the story and find out right now?
Oh, sounds good. Okay, friends, find a comfy place to sit and let's get started.
Deborah leads the way. Judges 4. The Israelites lived in the Promised Land for many years, but they forgot about God. A bad king from another land ruled over them. The Israelites asked God for help. God sent them a judge named Deborah. She loved God very much. God gave her a plan to defeat the bad king. She sent for a man named Barak and told him, God wants you to take 10,000 soldiers and wait on the hill. The Israelites were not as strong as the enemies. Barak begged Deborah to go with them. She was a strong leader. She agreed. When the Israelites met face to face with the king's army, Deborah exclaimed, "Go, attack them now. God is with us." And the Israelites obeyed and won the battle. Gideon's battle, Judges 6-7. God's people kept disobeying His rules, so God allowed their enemies to take all their food away. Again, the Israelites turned to God for help. Again, God answered their prayers. God chose a man named Gideon to help His people. God sent an angel to Gideon. "You are a mighty warrior," said the angel. "You will save God's people." Gideon said, "But I am from a family that isn't rich or important." Then Gideon prayed to God, "I need a sign from you. I will put some wool on the floor tomorrow. If the wool is wet, the ground is dry. I will believe you." The next morning, the wool was wet and the ground was dry. But Gideon wanted another sign. He said to God, "Now, if the wool is dry and the ground is wet, I will be sure you have chosen me." The next morning, God made the wool dry and the ground wet. Now Gideon was sure. He said, "God, I will do whatever you say." Over 30,000 men wanted to join Gideon's army. "That is too many," God said. He showed Gideon how to win with only 300 men. The plan sounded strange, but Gideon trusted God. During the night, Gideon and his men surrounded the enemy camp. They blew trumpets and smashed clay jars. They waved burning torches in the air. Their enemies were frightened. "This must be a huge army," they thought. So they ran away. God's people won. Samson, Judges 13-16. The Israelites were in trouble again. Along came a very strong man named Samson. God had chosen him to save the Israelites from their enemies, the Philistines. Samson knew that as long as he did not cut his hair, he would always be strong. Samson was in love with Delilah. The Philistines told Delilah they would pay her if he found out what made Samson so strong. At first, Samson lied to her. "If you tie me up with ropes," Samson said, "I will lose my strength." That night, while Samson slept, Delilah tied him up. Then she shouted, "The Philistines are coming!" Samson jumped up and broke the ropes. Delilah kissed him and asked, "Won't you tell me your secret?" Samson gave in and told her, "My strength is in my long hair." When Samson was asleep, Delilah had all his hair cut off. Samson's strength was gone. The Philistines grabbed him and put him in jail. A while later, the Philistines were having a big party. They brought Samson in and made fun of him. Samson prayed to God to make him strong one last time. God did. Samson pushed the pillars with all his might. The temple came crashing down and Samson defeated the Philistines.
Welcome back, guys. Weren't those stories about Deborah, Gideon and Samson cool? My favourite parts of the stories were when they listened to God and did what he said, which meant that they were able to defeat all of their enemies. I think it's amazing that God used normal people, just like you and me, to do the great things that he had planned. And you know what? God can still use us today to do great things, just like all the people from our stories that lived a long, long time ago. Alrighty, to help us learn more about the awesome characters from our stories and the cool-ass things that God helped them do, we're going to do a few different crafts. We're going to make Deborah from our first story. We're going to make the torches that Gideon's army used, and we're going to use some wool to make Samson's really long hair. Sound good? Alright, let's get started. We're going to start off by making Deborah. I've got a little piece of flesh-coloured paper here. Kind of looks like skin colour, eh? We're going to use that for her face. I've also cut out a bit of hair. So the first thing that we're going to do is grab our glue and we're going to lather it all over the top of this, make it super sticky. Alright, hopefully that's sticky enough. Then we're going to pop the hair on. There, like that. Can you see the hair? This is the beginnings of the face, even though it's got no eyes or nose or mouth yet. I think that's the next thing we've got to do. So I'm going to draw a little nose and a mouth. I'll make her smiling. There you go. Can you see that? Alright, I thought it'd be really cool if we gave Deborah some googly eyes. I've got a whole box of them here. Let's see. I think these ones are good. Again, lots of glue. And we'll stick our eyes on. Cool. Now she's looking at us. Alright, the last thing that we've got to do with Deborah is stick her head on this little popsicle stick, like a little body. Again, lots and lots of glue. Hopefully this works and she sticks on, otherwise her head's just going to be floating around. Alright. Press really hard, make sure it sticks. Alright, there we go. That's our Deborah. Alright, so we've done Deborah. The next thing we're going to do is make Gideon's torches that he used with his army. Okay, I made this thing earlier. It looks a bit like a cone or maybe the bottom of a torch. So this is going to be the bottom of our torch. But the most important part is the flames. So let me just pack all this away. I've got some red paper here. I've got some orange paper. And I've got some yellow paper. The next thing we've got to do is stick them all inside and make it look like fire. Okay. I think we'll start with the yellow. Just going to kind of make it all scrumply like this and stick it inside. There we go. Now we'll do the orange. Stick that one inside as well. Cool, I think it's beginning to look like fire. All right. Now we're going to scrunch this all up and pop that right in the middle. Cool, look at that, it's our torch. All right, so now we've got our Deborah, we've got our torch. The last thing that we need to make is Samson and his really long hair. Okay, got some pipe cleaners there, my sellotape, my really big googly eyes, and Samson's face. I'm just going to move some of this stuff out of the way. All right, here's his face. It's really big, as you can see, so he needs some really big eyes. I've got some really big ones here. We're going to stick them on first. I think these ones will be good. First, put on our glue. And then stick those eyes on. Cool, look at them wobbling around. All right, I think he needs a nose and a mouth as well. Should we make him smiling? I think so. Alrighty, there, we've got our Samson's face. Now, for the most important bit, his hair. I've got these really long pipe cleaners and they're black. Now we've just got to figure out a way to stick them onto his head. What we're going to do is we're going to grab a few pipe cleaners like this and we're going to put all of the ends together. Like that. Can you see? Okay, now the next step is to grab some of our sellotape and stick it across the ends of the pipe cleaners. So it's all sticky on one side. Then we get our hair and we stick it to Samson's face. There, we've got our first side of hair. Cool, right? Now we've just got to make the other side. More sellotape and stick that on. I might put a little bit more sellotape on just to make sure it doesn't all fall off. All right, there we go. Look at his crazy hair. It's all over the place. All right, so we've made our Samson. We've got his super long hair. And if you remember from the story, the next thing that happened to Samson and his long hair was that it all got cut off. Oh no, all of his strength was taken from him. I know it's a bit sad, but I think we've got to cut off a bit of Samson's hair, just like in the story. I've got my sharp scissors here, got to be careful with those. And I'm just gonna cut some of the ends off. Oh no, look, now he's got short hair on one side and long hair on the other side. All right, time to cut some hair off the other side as well. There we go. There's our Samson with short hair. He mustn't be very strong anymore, eh? Oh, there we go. Alrighty, so we have our 3 crafts here with us now. Let's see if we can use them to help us remember our stories. First, we have Deborah.
Oh, she's so beautiful, Phoebe.
What did she do again? Oh yeah, that's right. God used her to tell the Israelites how to defeat their enemies. How about this? What part of the stories is this torch from? Can you remember?
Oh, I think I can.
Gideon and his army held torches like this and blew trumpets to scare their enemies away. Okay, last one. What about this? Have a think and see if you can remember the name of this person. Can you remember? His name is Samson, and he had long hair that helped him to be really strong. And then all of his hair got cut off and he lost all his strength.
Oh no!
But in the end, he did what God said and was able to defeat his enemies as well. We can see from what happened to these characters that listening to God and obeying what he says is really important because he always knows what is best for us. Hey guys, I was just chatting to Gloria about this morning's story, and she told me about a really good verse from the Bible that talks about listening to God and doing what he tells us.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hey, how about you tell these guys the verse as well? I think they'd love to hear it.
Oh, good idea. This verse is from the book of Matthew in the Bible. Matthew tells us that God says, "Everyone who hears my words and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock."
That's a really interesting verse, eh? So the first part of the verse says, "Everyone who hears my words and puts them into practice." That might sound a bit confusing to you, but it's just talking about people who listen to God's words and do what he says.
Oh, yes, that's right, Phoebe. The last bit of the verse says, "is like a wise man who built his house on the rock." Phoebe, I'm a bit confused about why it's talking about building houses on rocks.
Yeah, it is a bit confusing, eh? It just means that a person who puts their house on a rock will have a really strong house that won't blow away or fall down because it's on the really strong rocks. God is like our rock that keeps us safe. So the verse is saying that people who listen to God and do what he says will live a good life because they are following God's plan for them.
Oh, I understand now. Thanks for explaining that, Phoebe. So, just like our stories this morning, this verse also tells us that listening to God will help us live the great plans that God has for us.
Here we go.
In my wrestling and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. In the silence, you won't let go. In the questions, your truth will hold. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore. Tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Whoa, you are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are my light, my lighthouse, shining in the darkness. To shore, safe to shore.
Okay guys, so today we heard 3 different stories about Deborah, Gideon and Samson that all showed us how important it is to trust God and listen to his plans for us.
Oh, we sure did! And you guys made some cool crafts together to help you remember what happened in the stories.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with us again this week. And remember,
God made you, God loves you, and Jesus wants to be your friend.
see you next week.
Bye!